Council, thank you for giving me the opportunity for the fire department to update council on where we stand with the new Firehouse project. As you know, it's been a long time coming. We have with us today is Chris Grenade from LeMay Erickson Wilcox. Their firm been a part of this project from the onset when we started with needs assessment study on a current building to feasibility studies to site selection. They've been a part of it the whole way through. They're a great asset to the city and the Summit. And also with me today is members of the Summit Fire Department. A lot of the design and work you see today, we present to you, is really from the hard work of the members of the Summit Fire Department. We started this project with a goal to meet the deficiencies our old building does not have, and also present a building to the council that's going to be within our budget constraints. We think we accomplished all that. So tonight we're going to go over step by step on how we got to this point, some design features and where we stand timing-wise, and some of the features that we're proposing to move forward with a new building. So with that, I will have Chris ready to come up and do your thing. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Christopher Cady with LeMay Erickson Wilcox Architects, one of the design principals. Very happy to be back with you again. A lot of familiar faces, a few new, but Council President, Mayor, all staff, council members, it's great to be here. As Chief said, giving an update for where we are. We're excited. We're kind of shifting into, from a design aspect, the final phase, the construction document phase. Last time I met you, we were beginning kind of the transition between schematic design and design development. Having now completed that, worked with Chief and the team, getting the project back on budget at the end of design development. We're very excited to be here wrapping up what's ultimately will result by midsummer, your bid documents that you'll be taking to the street to get a contractor to help realize this vision. So run through, just give you an update of kind of where we have been. Make sure technology stays with me. Most people are familiar, the site over on Broad Street, adjacent to the parking garage and occupying a portion of the current commuter lot. As we zoom in, seeing, for those that understand a little bit how the building is going to operate, we're taking advantage of that intersection there at the corner as the primary response coming out of, there will be 4 long apparatus bays. One of the key design features in working with the team early on was accommodating housing the entire fleet of vehicles so that everything can be protected from the weather. So they are slightly longer than average bays to accommodate all those vehicles indoors and protect them and support them over time. The primary response heads to that intersection to allow easy access in multiple directions and quick access for response throughout the city. Secondary apron out the rear, so it's a bi-directional station, if you will, for the secondary reserve and other support vehicles that can come out to the rear. You also see identified location of the fuel station that will support both the fire vehicles, but also, as we understand, be available for other city vehicles as well. Dedicated fire department parking adjacent to that, and then just kind of continuing west, you see the edge of what will be the remaining portion of the commuter parking lot. We have to update it and continue to evolve the station design itself. One of the key aspects we've been working with on the full firefighter design team has been how to best approach decontamination. That's something our firm has taken a very strong stance in leadership in the industry and fire station design, and what we've referred to as hot zone design that really separates out and identifies areas that are most likely to be exposed to these very serious carcinogens and contaminants that the firefighters are exposed to in their work, and how we identify that, protect that, isolate it within the building, and provide very specific transitional decontamination areas where they can become clean, have an opportunity to shower. One of the catchphrases that's very important is shower within the hour. So an opportunity to have that shower, change of clothes as soon as they come back from a response event, and provide that. Here, both because of the nature of the site itself, as well as our hot zone strategies, the majority of those red zones or more potentially contaminated spaces are here on the first floor with the apparatus bays where the PPE is stored, and then kind of isolating and fully separating the upper levels that remain as clean green spaces for the offices and day spaces. We have also provided at the mezzanine level, there's an opportunity for some training space. This is something that we also take very seriously. Firefighter preparedness, both in regular just physical fitness activities as well as specific drills and opportunities to practice on site without taking somebody out of service or taking a vehicle out of service. So we have an open mezzanine that goes into the bays that they're able to practice ladder revolutions, specific drills, Denver drills, and things of very specific activities and scenarios that they may experience in the field. so that we have a training mezzanine that is directly adjacent to the bays on this level. The upper level, second level above the mezzanine, is the primary kind of house day spaces for the firefighters, as well as this being the headquarters building, the new headquarters offices for the chief and staff. One of the other key features to the bottom right in yellow is the multifunction training space / EOC. So it is a space that will be set up and operated and offer emergency operations control center for the city, and taking that dual purpose of multi-use space, but it'll also serve as the training center for them. Upper level roof plan, again, achieving from the earlier design comments and aesthetic, kind of the hip roof aesthetic that you see from the street, surrounding a mechanical pit that's screened by that roof to the center. We have taken some feedback. Part came through the recent cost-cutting efforts we ran at the end of design development, but also an opportunity to actually go back and incorporate one of the comments we had heard previously during the design review, and looked at the opportunity to bring the brick all the way down. So I think this actually responds to it. There's a water table at the brick level that we see. The brick comes all the way down to the ground level now, but still with that, the large glass kind of frontal space for the fire prevention education that Chief has been targeting, and the rest of the aesthetic largely remaining the same as previously presented. This view coming down Broad from downtown. Kind of as we move from schematic design to design development and now into the construction document phase, we've kind of resolved the majority of the design questions. The systems are understood, and we're beginning to really just package those bid documents that the contractor will bid and ultimately use to construct. So these are some of those elevation drawings that are from that set, and we'll start to kind of piece out all of those details, the roof details and buildings and wall sections that become that final, what we used to call blueprints, but now the bid documents for your team. Schedule-wise, just a quick review of where we are. The CD phase, we officially started in mid-December. We'll be wrapping that up in June of this year, and then going from there into the bidding phase. And we're currently working with Chief and procurement on some details on the bidding schedule. So those are kind of preliminary dates, but targeting midsummer to be in bidding and permitting, and sequencing those accordingly per city protocols. Targeting construction then starting at the beginning of probably the fourth quarter of this year. We anticipate for a building of this size, it's probably about 14 to 16 months. I know Chief and we were just talking how to plan accordingly with weather delays and those kinds of things that are realities for construction. So probably allowing for a 16 to 18 month period of actual construction. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions of materials I presented or any other questions you may have about the project.
Does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Naidoo.
Are we discussing cost estimates? Aren't we discussing cost estimates for the building?
Yeah,
Let's talk cost estimates. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So why don't you go through and talk to us about what you have right now as your cost estimates?
Chief, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so right now, the building came in at, our budget was $11.8 million, and we came in just about $110,000 under budget. The building itself was about 11.3 with the fuel systems in place, everything brought it up to about 11.7-ish around there, 11.6 for the whole entire building to be built. That also takes into consideration architectural costs, contingency costs, escalation costs to bid, those things that are normally in a building of this size and nature. So those are all the costs that go with that. There is a more detailed, broken down cost estimate that we don't, the kind of detail that council does have and safety has, that goes over every little area and how we got to the price. But long and short of it is about $110,000 under the budget that we currently propose for, $1.8 million.
Let me just follow up, because we have seen cost estimates, and I think it's fair to the public to understand where we are, because this is public money, right? So let's just talk about it in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things is the cost estimates assume about $333 per square foot for construction, right? I want to hear from you, Chris, I guess, because you're the expert here.
Yeah.
Is that a reasonable estimate?
Very much. In today's market, I think that's actually very good.
Is that very good, as in that is low, and so therefore we would expect actual bids to be higher?
I think it's representative of the current market. What I would caution is the market right now is continuing to escalate at a higher rate than it has over the last 10 years. So these last 2 years, the market has been increasing. We do account for that in the current escalation, but we're seeing escalation rates that are 5 and 6%, whereas 5 years ago, we were talking about 3 to 4%. So the annual escalation is a little bit higher, but the cost per square foot in that 330, 340 range is very realistic, right?
And that's reflective of this area,
Correct, yes.
right? Okay.
What is the escalation rate built into into the estimate that you've given us?
Where is it?
What is it? You said,
What rate is included?
yes, because you said it was 5 to 6%
Yeah,
that you're seeing.
I believe what's shown is 5,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Are there, when you go through the bidding process, are there going to be alternates for certain things that say environmental issues? And then I know there's going to be a question about solar panels on the roof.
So we've been actually just recently talking to Chief of what items, as we're moving into the CD phase, now's the time to identify those items that we do want to consider. Roof was one that he and I were just talking about. Part of the cost cutting at the end of DD, changed that from a standing seam metal roof to a less expensive architectural asphalt shingle. That is an item that is a particularly easy type of transition to put in as an alt. There's not a substantial difference in the systems or the structure. It's really kind of just the finish layer that would change. Items that require more constructive difference, a little more complex in that alternates. But there are certainly the ability to do that as we identified the locations and items we want to. PV, the building is, as you hit on that, I'll just go ahead and touch on it. The building was designed to accommodate photovoltaic panels. There's a space for it in the electrical room, conduit and such, but not the actual equipment itself. We can talk further if you want to on whether or not it's a good fit for this building relative to the roof. There's some details on that, but as an opportunity for adult, yes, it would be able to do that kind of thing.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So I appreciated the chief going over with me all of the work that the research that went into it, and I'm a visual person, and so I know that we're going to be a regional resource, and we're not being the most state-of-art, but is there a comparable new site in New Jersey that if someone wanted to take a look and see what are the new fire houses looking like in New Jersey that we would take a look at?
That's a great question. I have to do a little bit of research and get back to you on that one. If I can, be happy to provide Chief with some recommendations and that he can pass on.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I wanted to follow up on your response to the mayor's question about the photovoltaic.
Beat me to it.
What, you said that if we wanted to discuss it, whether this building, it makes sense to have
Yes.
photovoltaic. Does it?
The technical answer is no.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent of photovoltaic. We recommend it on many projects. We just have the first project, and we've proposed it probably in 10 different fire stations. And just recently, I've come to the first station where the payback was within a 10-year period, which was kind of a general rule of thumb, has been a payback period to make it adequate. That roof has an entirely flat roof, and everywhere there's not a mechanical unit, we're covered with photovoltaics to reach that minimum kind of 25% threshold of total power that we're trying to get to be meaningful. What's on the screen now shows by the shape of the roof on this, the red is really the primary, that's the south-facing facade on the sloped roof. It's really the only area that has a significant opportunity for the photovoltaic, short of something that changed the architecture and went to more of a flat roof with more opportunity for photovoltaic panels. If we use that, the numbers, I realize they're small on the screen, that gets to about just over 5% of the usage, which relative to when you consider it to be useful and ultimately a meaningful asset is well below a target level.
So if we change the pitch of the roof, you could increase the amount of area that's available for photovoltaics?
We would likely need to take off the hip roofs altogether and have an entirely flat roof and maximize all of that flat roof with photovoltaic to even start to get towards a meaningful percentage.
And the other question I had was, I know that in the design of fire stations, there's few firms that do the work that you guys do, right? But in the construction of a fire station, is there any portion of this fire station that a non-general contractor would be necessary to do? That is, do you need any kind of specialized companies involved in the construction of this building, or can, anybody who puts up a building
Sure.
put a bid in for it?
For municipalities whose procurement allow them to require experience in a specific field, and different groups have different requirements in what they're allowed. We do like to require, as part of the bidding requirements, that they have built a fire station or in the last 5 years or something like that. We recommend that if and when you can. There are complexities that are unique to the equipment, especially around the Bay areas, that are complex. But more often than not, the municipalities we work with aren't able to do that, and it is general contractors that are coming in without necessarily past experience. So it can be done. We recommend, preferably, it's somebody that has the experience with a fire station in the past. But our job is to provide documents to make sure somebody can build it.
That anybody could build it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public? Come on up.
Hi, Eileen Kelly, 47 Woodland Avenue. Thank you both for your presentation. Just a quick question about what the anticipated ongoing costs of this building would be in comparison to the older building, given that it's newer, there's a facade, anything you can comment on the thermal envelope of the building that would potentially, have incurred costs in the future for maintenance?
Great question. I can't give you a specific dollars comparison. We were involved and completed the existing facility assessment of the current facilities, which are, as many know, built in 4 stages, dating back to 1902. The majority of the building has practically no insulation in the walls, as a simple, observation. So we are meeting and exceeding all the basic code standards, as well as, we're actually not pursuing, per coordination with the city, LEED certification, but we're basically designing it to those standards anyways. It's how our office operates. It's not additional cost, it's just good detailing and smart design. If you want further information that gets into details of the comparison, we could work with our mechanical engineer and give you some of those numbers. But in terms of highly efficient building, this is meeting what would be comparably a LEED silver status building in terms of overall efficiency, both in mechanical systems and the insulated envelope.
Any other questions from the public? All right, any other questions from members of council? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Look forward to
you.
seeing you again soon.
Thank you.